Hey, how's it going everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your days are going really well, and let's get right into it. Alright, so before I get started, I want to talk about Christmas. I feel like this year's Christmas has been very weird for me because I'm going through some difficult times within my own life. I don't want to get into the details, but basically it involves a loved one that, there's just a lot of things going on that, has caused me to feel a bit more emotional than usual. So yeah, it's been a very interesting time. It's been very difficult, but I'm going through it and I do have a lot of really good support around me. But I do want to recognize that when it comes to the Christmas season, it can be a very joyous season for a lot of people, but it could also be a very difficult season for most people. And I think that has to do a lot with whatever personal issues they may be going through. Some people just simply do not care about Christmas and they just feel very bitter about all the festivities that are going on around them. I totally get that. But I also feel like there's people out there who have a lot of trauma in their past. They go through a lot of different issues because of certain things that may have happened to them. And then the Christmas season just reminds them of that trauma, whether it be because they lost a family member at a younger age, or if it's because of something that may have happened to them that's very negative for their lives. The Christmas season can be very tough for a lot of people. So I kind of wanted to spread a word of encouragement and love to everyone. I just want to say that whatever you're going through right now, you are appreciated. You are someone who has a lot of value in this world. Like, you bring a lot of worth to this planet, and I just want to remind you of that, because regardless of what you are going through, regardless of whatever you think of yourself, I really do think that the best thing you could do for yourself is to find some sort of escape, whether that be Pokemon Go, whether that be these YouTube videos. I really do not know, but I really hope that you find yourself in a really good place this year's Christmas. And if it's really difficult for you, I really hope it ends up turning around. That's something I wanted to share. So yeah, with that said, let's get into today's topic of discussion. So I kind of want to switch gears and talk about Pokemon Go. I feel like it does really feel like us as Pokemon Go players, we're in a bit of a toxic relationship with Pokemon Go. Like, anytime Niantic does something incredibly negative with Pokemon Go, they turn around and do something very positive in Pokemon Go, something that a lot of players will find to be incredibly good. And that is precisely what ended up happening. Of course, there's been a lot of controversies as of late, especially when it comes to monetization and with a lot of these events being kind of lame. I feel like a lot of players have been having such strong negative sentiments towards Pokemon Go that they pulled the trigger on something very positive. And what am I talking about? Well, when it comes to raid battles, there has been a persistent issue when it comes to dodging attacks from the raid boss that has caused raid battles to be nearly unplayable for a majority of players. And then for a lot of people, it just created a very negative sentiment towards raiding, which is of course a staple part of Pokemon Go's gameplay. And I really felt like this was a critical issue. If they wanted the game to succeed, they needed to fix this issue right away. And they did that. They actually fixed the dodge issue, but they almost went a step further. Now, when you are in a raid battle, it's actually incredibly easy to dodge the attack from the raid boss. Let me explain. So first and foremost, when it comes to raid battles, dodging is one of those mechanics that you really cannot ignore, especially if you are bringing like less than ideal Pokemon, or if you do not have the right number of trainers in that raid battle, because the longer your Pokemon lasts in battle, the less raid lobbies you have to do, and with the less raid lobbies that you do, you can deal more damage over time. And I think that's a core aspect of Pokemon Go, that it really separates the good players from the great players. If you are someone who is actively dodging in raid battles, your performance is always going to exceed those players who are just mindlessly tapping on their screen when they're in a raid. And I really do think that when it comes to dodging in raid battles, that was something that needed some work even before this bug was a thing. I feel like with dodging, it just did not feel very streamlined. Like, there was a lot of question marks regarding whether or not you would actually dodge an attack, but it seems like Niantic fixed all of that. Now the window for dodging an attack from a raid boss is much greater than it was before. Basically what they did is that they changed the mechanics of dodging, where if you see the Pokemon do an attack, you have plenty of time to swipe your Pokemon left or right to dodge the attack. Essentially, your window for dodging attacks from a raid boss is now when you see the name of the attack appear on screen and when the damage actually gets dished out. That could be a very large window for certain Pokemon's attacks, or it could be a very short window, but still something that is manageable. And I really do think this is a very massive change. This is something that raid battles has needed for a very long time. It's actually a pretty decent quality of life improvement. For a lot of players, maybe they won't notice this change because they're those players who just mindlessly tap on the screen. But for a lot of other players who like to be as efficient as possible, this is a really good change. This is going to allow some players to be able to solo certain raid bosses. This is going to allow some players to duo difficult raid bosses. It's definitely something that could open up a lot of doors when it comes to Pokemon GO's raiding scene. But yeah, this is on the cusp of a lot of negativity hitting Pokemon GO. A lot of players have been feeling very frustrated and very disappointed with the way that the year is ending, and the reason for that is because when it comes to these in-game events like the upcoming New Year's event and with the current holiday event, it just seems like there's such a strong emphasis on raiding and PvP or with egg hatching in order to get the brand new Pokemon or the new shinies. And I think because of that, players are getting fed up because Niantic is constantly pushing in-app purchases down our throats rather than just letting us play the game the way we want to play it. And because of that, I think a lot of people have been very weary on whether or not they're going to continue to play Pokemon GO in 2025. But at the same time, they released this fix for raid battles, and I think this is something that a lot of players have been asking for pretty much ever since that bug was first introduced. So yeah, I think this is something that is going to be a massive positive change for Pokemon GO, and it's something that's definitely going to allow more players to feel a more sense of enjoyment when it comes to raid battles. So yeah, I don't know, it's just a weird time to be a Pokemon GO player. It just seems like Niantic constantly does things that are incredibly unpopular, and then they go and do something that players have been actually asking for. I feel like the same thing happened when they gave us the capabilities to skip the raid lobby timer. That was something that players have been asking for a very long time, and it only came on the heels of a major controversy, you know? So I wonder if Niantic has all of these positive changes that they can make, but they're saving them for when crap hits the fan. That basically when people are really unhappy about Pokemon GO, that's when they drop a lot of these positive changes. I really do not know what the case may be. I've certainly been in some game studios where that is a thing. I've seen it in the game industry, but I'm really not sure if that is exactly what's going on with Niantic and Pokemon GO. I have my doubts, but I also have a lot of suspicions that something like that is something they are capable of. But we'll just have to wait and see how things pan out in 2025. There's definitely a possibility that the game could make a huge downturn. It could become a game that is just egregiously monetized. It really seems like they're going in that direction. I mean, one of the things that I've been having problems with Pokemon GO as of late is just all of these in-app purchases. Like the special research tickets that we're getting, or whatever, the special bonus tickets. These are stuff that we used to have for free with in-game events. These are stuff that they offered for free as part of in-game events, like certain bonuses, like double hatch Stardust bonuses. Like that was all stuff that was a staple. No, it was just a part of these sort of events. And now it's stuff that we have to pay for. We have to fork out extra cash just to get the stuff that we used to have. And I really do not like that. I really hate that, actually. But yeah, in spite of those negative sentiments, I'm also really happy about this change to raid battles, and I feel like for me, myself, like, it's going to make raiding feel so much better, and I feel like I've already seen this change just create a big positive impact. So yeah, I really cannot figure out how I feel right now. It's one of those things where it's like, everything that we want within Pokemon GO, whatever quality of life change, whatever, I don't know, design decision that we want Niantic to make, those things will eventually come, but it's going to require just a lot of negativity happening within Pokemon GO. Yeah, it's a really weird time. That's the best way I could describe it. I'm really curious how things are going to go in the next year, because I really want Pokemon GO to succeed. I don't know how many times I have to say that on my YouTube channel. Every time I'm negative towards Pokemon GO, I try to be as constructive as possible, pointing out the things that are just not right with the game, and hoping that Niantic will make positive changes in the future. I do think that this most recent Necrozma raid day was a good example of that, because there were a lot of things that I had issues with previous raid days, but I felt like a lot of that was fixed with this most recent Necrozma Fusion raid day. So yeah, there are definitely moments where I feel like Niantic is making the right steps, but at the same time, I do not like the direction that the game is going when it comes to monetization. So Yeah, it's all really weird. I really am curious how things are going to go. It's going to be a very interesting year, in my opinion. I think there's going to be a lot of positive changes. Like, I suspect that eventually we're going to have the capability to delete eggs from our egg storage. I think that's something that a lot of players would really like, especially now with all of these hatching related events. And yeah, I do think that there's going to be other positive changes that are going to be very popular, but they're going to come on the heels of a lot of negativity. I do predict that is going to be a thing. But yeah, these are just some of my thoughts and opinions regarding some of the recent things with Pokemon Go. I do feel like the game is in a very weird place. It's kind of in a bit of a crossroads right now. There's definitely a good direction that Niantic could go with Pokemon Go, but there's also a very negative direction. And maybe for the end of this year, I'm going to put out a video talking about what I would like to see with Pokemon Go, like how I would envision this game, and maybe that could be something that Niantic could take into account. I really do not know, but yeah, that's going to be for a future video, but let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about. What do you think about all of the positive things that happen within Pokemon Go coming on the cusp of some really egregious negative things? Definitely share what you think about everything, and yeah, let's have a great discussion. So yeah, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the absolute best way to do so is by joining my Patreon. And if you become a paid Patreon member, like all the people that you see on the bottom of your screen, you're going to get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon Go friends list. So that means for stuff like remote raids and the friendship system, if you want to play Pokemon Go with me and interact with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. I reserve pretty much every single slot on my friends list specifically for patrons, and I also prioritize my patrons when it comes to raid invites, so do keep that in mind. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you can do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow, and you will have access to some bonus content. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.